Hi, fifth grade. This is Mrs. Lehman, and this is Multiplying and Dividing Fractions, Day 8. This is our final day of lessons for this unit, and we're going to be looking at Lesson 1111, which is problem solving using writing of equations. So we're going to start today with a model problem. So before we get going, could you please make sure that you have the paper of problems that goes along with this lesson? And when you do, you can get started. Okay, our model problem for today says, a board is 2 feet long. How many 1/4 foot long pieces can be cut from the board? Well, in order to answer this question, we need to think, kind of visually what's going on here. So we have a board that's 2 feet long. So let's kind of cut it into 1 foot sections. Okay, so this whole thing, the entire distance is 2 feet long. Okay, so the question's asking, well, how many 1 foot long pieces can be cut from each board? So we're actually going to cut the board into 1/4 foot long pieces. So when we're doing this, we're actually dividing the 2 feet down into 1/4 foot sections. So the equation for that would be 2 divided by 1/4 to answer the question of how many of these pieces can I cut from this board. So as we know, with dividing of fractions, we're going to use the reciprocal form of the second fraction. So I'm going to rewrite this expression as 2, the inverse operation times, and then I'm going to do the reciprocal of 1/4, which is 4/1, which is equal or the same thing to 2/1 times 4/1. And when I do that math and I multiply the numerators, I end up with 8/1. And my final answer then is 8. Okay, so when I take this board and I cut it into 1/4 foot long pieces, each foot is divided into 4 pieces. So at the end of both feet, you end up with 8 pieces of wood. Okay, guys, so go ahead and hit pause, and then when you're finished, hit play again, and we'll go over your work. Okay, so question 1, we know that Lisa ate 1/8 of a pizza. And we know that Josh ate 2.5 times as much as Lisa. So in order to solve this question, we know that Lisa was 1/8 and Josh was 2.5 times as much. So times 2.5 in order to figure out Josh. Okay, so before we can do this, we need to change our mixed number into an improper fraction. So we're going to rewrite this as 1/8 times 2 times 2 plus 1 is 5 halves. And when we solve that, 1 times 5 for the numerators is 5, and 8 times 2 is 16. So when we look at 5/16, we need to ask ourselves, can this be reduced? And if it can, we need to reduce it. If it can't, we need to leave it as our final answer. So 5 and 16 do not have any common factors. So this one is already in reduced form. So our final answer is that Josh ate 5/16 of the pizza. And we can find that label right there in the question. Also right here in the information for Lisa, how much of the pizza. Okay. Oh, we're going to go look at question 2. Question 2 says, Bobby has 3 times as many model spaceships as his friend Sylvester does. Bobby has 21 spaceships. How many model spaceships does Sylvester have? So go ahead and pause the video and answer the question. When you're ready, hit play again, and we'll look at your response and see how you did. So as you may have noticed here in question 2, this question has absolutely no fractions in it at all. And we've reached that point in the year where your word problems may end up having decimals, whole numbers, or fractions. They may involve any of the operations at all. We're kind of to that point where anything can happen. So with this one, we're just dealing with whole numbers. So once again, Bobby has 3 times as many model spaceships as his friend Sylvester does. Bobby has 21 spaceships. How many model spaceships does Sylvester have? Okay, there's actually 2 ways to look at this question. and two different kind of equations you can write. The first one that I'm going to show you is Bobby. I'm going to use the variable B for him. It says that Bobby has 3 times as many as his friend Sylvester. Okay, so I know that, so I'm putting an S here for Sylvester. So B for Bobby, S for Sylvester. So when I go on and I look further into the question, it says that Bobby has 21 spaceships. So for Bobby's variable there of B, I can insert 21. So 21 equals 3 times Sylvester. Okay, so when I look at this, this is now a math problem. So to figure out Sylvester, 3 times what equals 21? The opposite of that is what I can say is 21 divided by 3 equals Sylvester. So Sylvester has 7 model spaceships. Okay. The other way of looking at this is just to right away look at it and say, oh, well, Bobby has 21. And we know that that's 3 times as many as Sylvester. So 21 divided by 3 equals Sylvester, and just solve it with that equation. Okay. So either way, the same answer is that Sylvester has 7 spaceships. Okay, so we're going to go on to question 3. Question 3 today says, Dan saved $463 over 12 weeks of summer break. He saved $297 of it during the last 4 weeks. How much did he save during the first 8 weeks? So go ahead and hit pause, solve the question, and then come back and check your answer. Okay, so when we look at question 3 here, we get a lot of information about Dan. We know that he saved $463 over the entire 12 weeks of summer break. Okay, so that's his total amount of savings. He saved 297 of it during the last 4 weeks. So when we look at this and we think 12 whole weeks, during the last 4, he saved $297. So the question says, how much did he save during the first 4 weeks? So we know that $463 is his total amount of money. Okay, and we know that 297 was for the last 4 weeks. We don't know the first 8 weeks. So when we look at this, the last 4 weeks plus the first 8 weeks equals 463. An expression that you can use to solve this, or an equation you can use to solve this, is 463 minus 297 equals that first 8 weeks, or M. Okay, so when we do 463 minus 297, we're going to regroup the 6 into a 5. The 3 becomes a 13. And then we need to regroup the 4 into a 3. And the 5 becomes 15. And our answer then becomes that during the first 8 weeks of summer vacation, Dan only saved $166. He didn't do a very good job of saving at the beginning of summer. He did much better at the end of summer. But that's the final answer to the question of he saved $166 during the first 8 weeks. Okay, good job today, guys.